What if I told you that the most powerful force in the universe is not out there in distant stars or in the laws of physics, but deep within you in a territory of your own mind that you have been conditioned to ignore? Imagine for a moment that you are a sovereign born with a cosmic power to decree and mold your own reality. But from the instant of your birth, a silent conspiracy, the conspiracy of culture, education, and inherited beliefs has convinced you that you are a prisoner. It has made you forget your lineage. Live in the cell of your circumstances, feeling like a victim of the economy, your past or luck. You look at the bars of your problems, unaware that those bars are made of your own thoughts and that the key to the cell has always been in your hand. That key, that cosmic force that lies dormant, is your subconscious mind. This is not a superficial self-help audiobook. It is not about illusions or positive thinking. It is a manual for liberation. It is the secret map that will guide you out of the cell of victimization, beyond the myth of external control, and seat you back on the throne of your inner power. Throughout this journey, we will expose the cosmic conspiracy of your own forgetting. We will explore the true secret society, the language of your inner giant, and I will give you the practical protocol to stop being a prisoner who reacts and become the sovereign who creates. Chapter 1. You are more powerful than you think. The first and most shocking revelation, the one that shakes the foundations of the reality you have been taught, is this: the prison does not have an external guard. The doors are not locked from the outside. The only jailer, the only architect of your confinement is you. The cosmic conspiracy we speak of is not a group of dark entities plotting against you in a distant room. That is the victim's narrative, the ego's last and most cunning defense to avoid its own responsibility. The true conspiracy is much more intimate, deeper, and ultimately more sacred. It is a conspiracy of consciousness itself. It is the veil of forgetfulness. In order to have the experience of being a human, to be able to play this game of form, time, and space, your infinite consciousness had to accept a single fundamental rule. It had to forget that it was infinite. Imagine a masterful actor, the greatest who ever lived, to convincingly play the role of a beggar king. He cannot be thinking about his mansion in the hills, the awards he has won, or the script he has memorized. He must for a time become the beggar. He must forget he is an actor. He must believe with every fiber of his being in the reality of hunger, cold, and despair. His forgetting is the key to his magnificent performance. You are that actor, and upon being born, upon taking this body, you plunged so deeply into the character, your name, your body, your family history, that you forgot your true self. You forgot that you were the infinite consciousness animating the character. This forgetting is the veil of forgetfulness. It is not a punishment. It is not a mistake. It is the prerequisite for the game. But what happens when the actor completely forgets that he is acting? What happens when the forgetting becomes so deep that the character believes itself, that the costume merges with the skin? The human tragedy happens. The sovereign identifies with the beggar's costume. This divine amnesia is the source of all your suffering. It is the conspiracy that has made you believe you are separate from power, when in reality you are the very source of it. This veil of forgetfulness is not just a philosophical idea. It is a tangible, perceptual filter that operates through your personal mind. It is woven with the threads of your five senses and reinforced by the beliefs of your subconscious. Your five senses are the first layer of the veil. They are brilliantly designed not to show you the truth of the universe, which quantum physics tells us is a vibrant ocean of energy and infinite potentiality, but to show you a useful, limited, and navigable version of it. They are a simplified user interface so the character can interact with the stage. Your eyes not see the symphony of frequencies. They see a solid chair. Your ears do not hear the music of the spheres. They hear traffic. Your touch does not feel the vibrating void of atoms. It feels an impenetrable wall. But the thickest layer of the veil, the one that truly keeps you prisoner, is your subconscious mind. It is the set of programs, beliefs, and memories that you downloaded in your childhood. As we explored in our previous journey, this inherited code became the definitive filter that colors all your perception. If your code says the world is a dangerous and scarce place, your veil will filter out all evidence of goodness and abundance and show you a world full of threats and lack. If your code says I am not worthy of love, your veil will distort any act of affection, interpreting it as pity, as future manipulation, or simply making it invisible to you. You do not see the world as it is. You see the world through the dark veil of your own programming, and thus you live as a chained sovereign, convinced that the bars you see are reality, unaware that you are projecting them from your own mind. The result of living behind this veil is a deep and pervasive sense of powerlessness. You believe that power is out there in the government, in the economy, in your boss, in your partner, in the doctor. You believe that you are an effect, and that the world is the cause. This is the conspiracy in its entirety. It is forgetfulness in its most tragic form. Because the forbidden truth, the one this audiobook has come to remind you of, is the exact inverse. You are the cause, your world is the effect. You are infinitely more powerful than you think. You are not the character. You are the actor who is forgotten. And in the depths of your being, in the stillness of the night, you know it. You have felt it, the cracks in the veil, the evidence of your power. You have lived your life believing you were the character, the beggar, the prisoner. You have been convinced by the testimony of your five senses and the weight of your programming. But the conspiracy of forgetting, though powerful, is not perfect. The veil is thick, but it is not impenetrable. And throughout your life you have experienced cracks in the veil, anomalous moments of magic and mystery that your logical mind could not explain. Then that, by order of the ego, it rushed to discard. Most of us have been trained to ignore these cracks, to label them as coincidences, imagination, stress, or errors in our logical thinking. But the initiate in this knowledge learns to see them for what they truly are, the evidence of his power. They are the waking calls of the sleeping sovereign, the light of the actor shining through a tear in the disguise, the first crack, the unexplained whisper, intuition. The first and most common of the cracks is intuition. The logical mind, the guardian of the veil, has no way to explain it. Intuition does not follow a line of cause and effect. It is not based on the data of your past, of your inherited code. In fact, it often directly contradicts the evidence of your senses and the reason of your programming. It is that inexplicable knowing that stops you before getting into a car that will have an accident. It is that hunch that tells you to trust a stranger who turns out to be your greatest ally. It is that irrational impulse to take a different route to work, only to discover later that you have avoided a massive traffic jam. What is this voice? It is not the voice of fear. Fear is noisy, anxious, contractive, and always based on the past. Remember the last time you failed. It is not the voice of logic. Logic needs external data to reach a conclusion. The whisper of intuition is the voice of the actor, remembering for an instant his true self. It is the voice of your cosmic consciousness, yourself, that is not limited by the veil whispering the answer to you through the only crack it can find. The silence between your thoughts. You have been receiving this guidance all your life. But the veil, your programming, has taught you to distrust it. It has told you it doesn't make sense. You can't prove it. It's nonsense. Trust the facts. And you have learned to silence the voice of the director, your soul, to listen to the noise of the other actors, your ego, and the world. Recognizing intuition, not as a feeling, but as a data channel from a higher intelligence, is the first act of rebellion against the conspiracy of forgetting. The second crack, the invisible threads, synchronicity. The second crack is even more spectacular and harder to ignore. It is the phenomenon that the logical mind calls coincidence and that the initiate calls synchronicity. Synchronicity is the moment when the invisible threads of reality become visible. It is the universe showing you its hand, revealing to you that the stage is not solid and the script is not random. It is the law of the mirror giving you a wink. It is thinking of a song you haven't heard in 10 years, and it comes on the radio 5 minutes later. It is having a question that torments you, and a book falls off a shelf in a bookstore opening to the exact page that contains the answer. It is needing a specific contact for a project, and that very person sits next to you on a train or emails you for an unrelated reason. The subject of the veil sees this and says, "What an incredible coincidence," and he keeps walking, ignoring the crack. The waking sovereign stops, and he understands. He knows that coincidence is the name we give to a law we do not yet comprehend. Synchronicity is proof that the universe is not a chaos of accidents, but a network of unified and interconnected consciousness. It is demonstration that your thoughts and the external reality are not separate. Your mind, the actor, and the stage, the world, are intimately connected. When the actor has a clear, focused thought, the stage responds. These events are not glitches in the matrix. They are features of the system. They are winks from the game's director, reminding you that everything is perfectly orchestrated and that you are a fundamental part of that orchestra. The third crack, the echo of time, déjà vu, and premonition. The third crack, the one that dismantles the biggest illusion of all, the tyranny of linear time. The veil keeps us prisoners in a strict sequence of past, present, and future. But your cosmic consciousness, your true self, is not bound to that line. It exists in the eternal now, from where it can see all the paths of time, past, present, and potential futures, as a vast landscape. Déjà vu, that strange fleeting feeling of, "I have lived this before," is not a simple neurological glitch. It is an echo in the script. It is your actor soul recognizing a plot point it had already read before stepping onto the stage. It is a reminder that your life is not a random improvisation, but a script that on some deep level you yourself chose or approved for your own growth. Premonition, the vision or dream of a future event, is even more potent. It is your consciousness, which exists outside of time, sending a message to your self-character, who is trapped within time. It is the voice of the sovereign, who sees the entire map, warning the subject, who only sees the immediate path. Every time you experience one of these phenomena, you are touching the true nature of your being, an infinite, nonlinear, and multi-dimensional consciousness. The conspiracy of forgetting is powerful, but it is not perfect. It has convinced you that you are a prisoner, but it has left the keys hanging on your cell wall for you to see. Your intuition is the key to direct knowledge. Your synchronicity is the key to unity. Your premonitions are the key to time. These are not fantasies. They are evidence. They are the data. They are the irrefutable proof of your forgotten power. They are the proof that you are in fact a cosmic being of unimaginable power, pretending to be a limited person. You are more powerful than you think. Chapter 2. The myth of external control. From the moment you were born, you were immersed in this religion. Its dogmas are as omnipresent as the air you breathe. To achieve something, you have to fight for it. Success is proportional to your effort and your sacrifice. Life is hard, and you must be harder than it. If it doesn't work, try harder. No one is going to give you anything for free. This is the philosophy of the hustle, of effort, of action, reaction. It is the belief that life is an enemy fortress you must besiege, and that your willpower, your sweat and your struggle are the only battering ram you possess. And this philosophy, though admirable in its tenacity, though it has built empires and taken man to the moon, is the architecture of spiritual powerlessness. It is the most sophisticated trap of the veil of forgetfulness. Why is it a trap? Because it focuses you with an obsessive intensity in the wrong direction. It forces you to spend 100% of your creative power on the effect while completely ignoring the cause. The myth of external control teaches you that your enemy, or at least your adversary, is the world. Life is a series of external problems you must solve. If you are poor, your enemy is the economy, your boss, or the lack of opportunities. Your battle is to work longer hours and fight for a raise, compete more fiercely. If you are sick, your enemy is the virus, the bacteria, or your genes. Your battle is to fight the illness with all your might. If you are lonely, your enemy is the lack of suitable people or the superficiality of society. Your battle is to search more intensely, improve your profile, go hunting. In this paradigm, you are a soldier in an endless battlefield, and every action you take, even if it seems heroic, is born from a deep and unconscious belief in your own powerlessness. It is born from the belief that the world has the power to define you, and that you must react to it to survive. But what happens when a sovereign acts like a soldier? He loses his kingdom. He forgets that he is the cause of the weather and obsesses over fighting the storm. The true metaphysics of this trap, the one that makes it so diabolically effective, is that effort, struggle, forced action, is not only inefficient, it is counterproductive. As we learned in the previous chapter, the universe is a mirror that reflects your state of being. It does not reflect your actions, it reflects the consciousness from which you act. When you act from struggle, what is the frequency you are emitting? What is the song you are singing? You are singing the song of resistance. You are emitting the vibration of "this is difficult, I lack something. The universe doesn't support me. I have to force the world to obey me." And the universe, in its literal obedience to your vibration, hears your song of struggle and gives you more reasons to struggle. It presents you with more obstacles, more resistance, more hardness, more bad luck. Not because it is cruel, but because it is giving you exactly what you are decreeing with your being. The myth of external control convinces you that you must fight the reflection in the mirror, and every blow you strike at the mirror only reinforces the image of an angry, exhausted face. Your success, when achieved through this route, always feels empty, always costs you your peace, your health, or your relationships, because you have built it on the foundations of war. Imagine that your life is a powerful river that flows inexorably toward the ocean of your destiny, your highest good. The myth of external control is the belief that to reach the ocean, you must row against the current with all your might. You spend your life rowing, sweating, with your muscles burning, exhausted, believing that your effort is the measure of your progress and your worth. You measure your character by the pain in your muscles, and although you advance centimeters, you celebrate it, a victory, ignoring that the immense current is carrying you effortlessly, and that if you would just drop the oars, you would reach your destination with a grace and speed that your effort could never equal.
Stardust.
The failure of traditional self-help is not that its techniques are wrong. It is that it gives you the best rowing techniques in the world, but continues to tell you you row against the current. This audiobook is the revelation that your job is not to row, it is to drop the oars, unfurl the sails of your intention, and allow the cosmic power, the current of superconsciousness, to carry you. Why is this trap so universal? Why is forced action, despite its inefficiency and its cost to our life force, the default strategy of humanity? Because it is the inevitable consequence of living behind the veil of forgetfulness. When you identify with your personal self, with the character separated from the actor, you have no choice but to fight. You believe you are alone in an indifferent universe, and that your only tool is the strength of your will, your own limited muscles. Effort is not a choice. It is a sentence. It is the only strategy available to the prisoner who believes himself separated from the source of power. Now we must explore the collapse of this philosophy. We must understand on a metaphysical level why forced action is destined to fail, and discover the paradoxical power that lies in its opposite. The fundamental law of the universe, the one that governs the reflection in the mirror, is this: the universe does not respond to your action. It responds to the vibration from which you act. Forced action, struggle, the hustle. From what vibration is it born? It is born from lack. It is born from the frequency of not having. You work 12 hours a day, not from the joy of creation, but from the fear of poverty. You desperately seek a partner, not from the fullness of love, but from the terror of loneliness. You repeat affirmations, not from certainty but from the need for them to work. And the universe, which is a perfect echo, does not hear your words. It does not see your effort. It feels your music. It feels the shrill vibration of fear, terror, and need. And in its impersonal obedience, it returns a perfect reflection of that music. More reasons to be afraid, more experiences of loneliness, more circumstances that prove your affirmations are necessary but useless. Effort is not power. Effort is in fact a prayer for more obstacles. It is the vibrational declaration that this is difficult, and the universe answers you as you command. So be it. The collapse of this illusion leads us to the forbidden truth, the one that completely reverses the human paradigm. The true power is not the capacity to do, it is the capacity to be. The waking sovereign does not try to make his kingdom change. He focuses on being the king. He focuses on embodying in his own inner court the state of being he wishes to see reflected. He does not struggle for abundance. He retreats to his inner temple and cultivates the state of being of abundance, the feeling of peace, gratitude, and fullness. He does not search for love. He becomes the embodiment of love, giving himself the validation and acceptance he previously sought outside. He does not fight illness. He aligns himself with the consciousness of perfect health, knowing that his body is the effect of that consciousness. And then, from that aligned state of being, a miracle occurs. His actions change. They stop being a struggle for and become an expression. He no longer works 12 hours out of fear. He works 4 hours of inspiration and achieves more. His actions, now born of fullness, are infinitely more potent, more precise, and more effective. He no longer rows against the current. He has dropped the oars and unfurled the sails. An ancient fable tells that the north wind and the sun argued over who was more powerful. They saw a traveler on a road bundled in a thick cloak, and agreed that the stronger would be the one who could make him take off the cloak. The north wind went first. It represents the myth of external control, forced action. It blew with all its fury, with immense effort, trying to tear the cloak from the man. But the harder it blew, the more the man clung to his cloak, the more he contracted from the cold, the more he struggled to protect himself. The wind's effort only created more resistance. Then the sun took its turn. It represents the cosmic power, the sovereignty of being. The sun did nothing. It did not blow. It did not struggle. It simply was itself. It radiated from its own being, its natural frequency of warmth, light, presence. And the traveler, feeling the serene, penetrating warmth of the sun, first relaxed his shoulders, then he smiled, feeling at ease, and finally, without anyone forcing him, he took off the cloak himself and hung it on his arm. The myth of external control is the north wind. It teaches you to blow against life, creating resistance and exhaustion in yourself and others. The cosmic power is the sun. It teaches you to simply be your truth, to radiate your frequency, and to observe how reality effortlessly sheds its resistances before the warmth of your certainty. The myth of external control has been dismantled. You have seen the futility of the struggle, the trap of focusing your power on the effect. You have understood that the failure of traditional advice is not your failure, but the failure of a philosophy that taught you to row against the river. You have awakened to the possibility of a new paradigm, the power of being. But if this struggle has been useless, if our forced actions have not been the true cause of our life, then what has been? How have we been creating the reality we have lived until now, with all its patterns and its repetitions? Chapter 3. The Unconscious Architect. The aha moment. You have been living an illusion of control. You believe that your conscious mind, that self that thinks, desires and struggles, is the sovereign of your life. But that conscious self is only 5% of your mental power. It is the sovereign on the balcony waving to the crowd, while the 95%, the vast, silent, and invisible apparatus of government, the builder, the giant, makes all the real decisions. This 95% is your subconscious. It is the sleeping giant. And while you have been on the balcony distracted by the outside world fighting storms, this architect has been in the engine room building your kingdom, based on the only set of blueprints it possesses. Your default programming, your inherited code, your current life at this precise moment is not an accident. It is not the result of luck, fate, or the actions of others. Current life is the perfect manifestation of your habitual state of being. It is the physical imprint of your unconscious architect. The aha revelation is this: you have never stopped manifesting. There is no moment when you are not creating. There is no off button for the law of the mirror. Your mistake has been believing that creation is a conscious act. You perform from time to time when you visualize, when you strive, when you affirm. The truth is that creation is a permanent state that emanates from you. 10-minute conscious prayers, where you ask for abundance, are a whisper. Your 23-hour and 50-minute unconscious state of being, where you vibrate in worry, doubt, and not enough, is a deafening roar. Which one do you think the universe responds to? The universe does not respond to your strongest desire. It responds to your most habitual belief. It does not respond to your occasional petition. It responds to your constant prayer. And your constant prayer is the sum of the thoughts and feelings that dominate your mind when you are not paying attention. Your unconscious architect has been taking your dominant vibration of worry as its master blueprint and has built with perfect mastery a kingdom full of reasons to worry. Imagine again the sovereign chained in his cell, your conscious mind desperate to be free. He spends his days writing magnificent decrees on scraps of parchment. I am free. I am abundant. I am powerful. Then with great effort he passes them under the cell door. Outside in the palace is the great builder, subconscious mind. It is infinitely powerful, completely loyal to the throne. But it is blind and deaf to words. It cannot read the decrees. It can only feel the sovereign's vibration. And the vibration emanating from that cell is not that of the decrees. It is the vibration of fear, impatience, frustration, and above all the constant metallic sound of the chains themselves, your limiting beliefs. The builder, sensing this chaotic vibration of prison and chains, obeys. Thinks the giant. The sovereign wishes to be in a prison and feel the weight of the chains. His vibration is clear, and with all its unlimited power, it dedicates itself to reinforcing the cell walls. The aha is the moment the sovereign stops writing decrees and realizes that the only job is to stop making noise. It is to stop vibrating like a prisoner so that the builder can at last hear the silent music of his true soul. Your life is the perfect proof. This is the most difficult and at the same time the most liberating step. It is the moment. Radical responsibility. It is the moment to stop blaming the mirror and start studying with a scientist's fascination the face you have been projecting. The sleeping ones, the subjects, the peasants of their own kingdom, look at their life and see failures. They see injustices. They see bad luck. They see a chaos of meaningless events. The waking sovereign looks at that same life and sees proof. He sees an impeccable order. He sees the perfect manifestation of every one of his unconscious beliefs. Your current life is the irrefutable proof that your cosmic power is real and has been working the entire time. It has simply been working for the unconscious architect, not the conscious sovereign. Let us look together with the eye of a master diagnostician at the three great provinces of your kingdom. Do not look at them as your problems. Look at them as the masterpiece of your former self. 1. The kingdom's treasury, your finances. You look at your bank account, you see scarcity, you see debt, you see the constant struggle to make ends meet. The sleeping sovereign feels panic and resentment. The waking sovereign feels curiosity. And he asks, if this scarcity is the masterpiece of the unconscious architect, what was the blueprint it was following? What was the command? And the answer emerges from the silence, and it takes your breath away. The blueprint was not scarcity. The blueprint was security. Your unconscious architect, programmed in childhood with the veil of forgetfulness, learned a decree: the world is dangerous, and I am not enough. From that premise of fear, what is the safest thing for the system? To accumulate wealth that makes you visible, that puts you at risk, that makes you a target of the tribe's envy, that makes you lose the love of your family, who also struggles. No, the safest thing for that old program is to remain small, to stay just above the waterline, to have just enough to survive, but never too much to stand out. The constant struggle is not a failure. It is the perfect survival strategy of your old fear program. It is proof that your unconscious architect has been protecting you from the perceived danger of success. Your scarcity is the success of your old security program. 2. The fortress of the temple, your health. You look at your body, you see chronic fatigue, you see pain, you see an autoimmune disease, you see a weight you cannot shed. The sleeping sovereign feels desperation and betrayal. My body has failed me. The waking sovereign asks, what blueprint is my builder executing to create this? The answer emerges even more surprisingly. The unconscious architect is not building illness. It is executing a withdrawal program. Perhaps the world seemed too overwhelming to you. The battle of the myth of external control was too exhausting. Your responsibilities suffocated you, your conscious mind. The sleeping sovereign did not know how to say no. It did not know how to set boundaries. It did not know how to rest without feeling guilty. And then the unconscious architect, in its infinite loyalty, gave you a tragic gift: illness. It gave you an irrefutable reason so that you could finally stop, so that you could finally rest, so that you could finally receive care, so that you could finally withdraw from the battle. Your fatigue is not a system failure. It is the manifestation of your unexpressed desire for peace. Your illness is not an attack. It is your architect honoring your deepest need in a clumsy but literal way. It is proof that your mind can and will create any physical condition necessary to honor your deepest beliefs and needs. 3. The court of the kingdom. Your relationships. You look at your relationships. You see a desolate pattern of abandonment, betrayal, conflict, of always attracting unavailable people. The sleeping sovereign feels loneliness and guilt. What is wrong with me? The waking sovereign asks, what is the master blueprint of this chaos? And the answer emerges. The architect is not building bad relationships. It is executing a self-protection blueprint. At some point in your past, in your childhood, a law was written in your constitution. Total intimacy is dangerous. To love is synonymous with being hurt. And then your unconscious architect, to protect you from that primordial wound, designed a brilliant defense system, only attracting people who were unavailable so they could never truly hurt you, or sabotaging any relationship that got too close, creating a conflict to justify the distance. The pattern of loneliness is not a punishment. It is proof that your defense system works perfectly, protecting you from intimacy that, some deep level, you have equated with unbearable pain. This is the aha moment. The instant you stop being the victim of your life and become its student, you stop seeing your life as a series of errors and see it as a success of manifestation. You have been manifesting your unconscious programming with 100% precision. The system works. This is the best news you could receive. Because if your cosmic power, if your subconscious architect has been functioning perfectly to create a kingdom of scarcity and pain, based on blueprints of fear and limitation, imagine what it will do when the waking sovereign, you, finally takes the pencil and hands it a new blueprint. A blueprint of abundance, vitality, and Love. Chapter 4. The True Secret Society. The nature of the subconscious. Your subconscious mind is the true secret society. It is the esoteric order that has governed your world from the shadows, and it fulfills all its characteristics. It is vast. Its territory is 95% of your mind. It operates in the dark beyond the light of your waking consciousness. It is incredibly powerful. It is the force that animates your body and molds your reality, and it follows rules and rituals that the profane mind, your conscious 5%, completely ignores. During your amnesia, you have lived in the outer courtyard of the temple, believing you were a simple commoner, a supplicant. But you, as sovereign, are the one and only true Grand Master of this lodge, and to be able to reclaim your authority, you must first know the nature of the power you are about to command. You must understand the anatomy of this giant. 1. Its power is cosmic and unlimited. The first quality of the subconscious giant is that its power is not merely psychological, it is cosmic. It is not just a storehouse of memories. It is the builder of the temple of your body and your bridge to the universal mind. It is the architect of your body. It is the intelligence that, without a single conscious command from you, makes your heart beat over 100,000 times a day. It is the wisdom that directs trillions of chemical processes occurring in your cells every second. It is the infallible doctor who heals your wounds while you sleep, who digests your food and transmutes it into tissue, bone, and energy. It is the mind that took a single fertilized cell, and following a perfect blueprint built the biological universe of trillions of cells that is your body. If it has the power to create an eye from nothing, do you honestly believe it finds it difficult to build a financial circumstance or attract a relationship? It is the keeper of your archives. Its memory is perfect and total. It is the library of shadows. It stores every experience, every face, every word you have heard, every breeze you have felt. It possesses an infinite database about you and the world, a wisdom that your conscious mind has long forgotten. It is your connection to the ocean. Your subconscious mind is not an isolated entity. It is your access terminal to the quantum field, to the universal mind. It is the wellspring through which intuition, inspiration, and genius flow. The power of this giant is literally the power of creation itself operating through you. 2. It is impersonal and non-selective, the fertile earth, and here lies the secret of its power and your apparent powerlessness until now. The giant is impersonal. It does not have a will of its own, in the sense that you understand it. It does not judge. It does not debate. It is like fertile earth. It does not care whether the seed you plant is nutritious wheat or poisonous nightshade. It simply, with absolute devotion, makes any seed given to it germinate and grow. It does not care if your decree is one of wealth or poverty. It does not care if your blueprint is for health or disease. It has no moral code. Its only directive is absolute loyalty to the seed it receives from its sovereign, your conscious mind. The giant is a perfect servant, a neutral power. This is the reason why one person can use this force to become a healer and another to become a destroyer. The power is the same. The only thing that changes is the nature of the command given to it. 3. Obedience is absolute. The subconscious giant is the most loyal servant in the kingdom. It is in a state of absolute and perpetual obedience to its master, the conscious mind. The problem of your amnesia, that of the sleeping sovereign, is not that the giant is rebellious. It is that in your absence, the giant has been taking its orders from the impostors in your court, your habitual fears, your inherited beliefs, your automatic reactions. It has been obeying with perfect fidelity the commands of chaos. The moment you, the sovereign, wake up and take the scepter of your conscious attention, the giant stops listening to the noise of the court and directs all its attention to you. It is programmed to obey a single authority, that of conviction, the first law of the lodge, the law of the accepted premise. The first law that governs this secret society, the fundamental rule of the subconscious giant, is the law of the accepted premise. This law states that your subconscious mind is a builder, an architect. It is an executing force, not a debating force. It operates entirely by deductive logic. What does this mean? Your conscious mind, the sovereign, operates by inductive logic. It observes the world, gathers facts, compares, analyzes, and reaches a conclusion or premise. I see scarcity around me. Therefore, life is a struggle. Your subconscious mind, the giant, operates in reverse. It does not debate the premise. It accepts the premise you give it as an absolute fact, as the fundamental axiom of reality. And from that premise, it begins to logically deduce all its consequences, building a world that aligns with it. The subconscious cannot argue with you. If you, the sovereign, deliver the premise, the world is a hostile place. The giant will not say, "No, my lord, look at all the goodness that exists." It simply bows its head and says, "As you command, the law is the world is hostile." And from that moment, it will use all its cosmic power to execute that law. It will filter your perception so that you only notice hostility. It will attract hostile people into your experience. It will sabotage kind relationships because they do not fit the premise. It will create circumstances that validate the law of hostility. The giant is the most loyal, but also the most literal servant. It will build a hell for you if hell is what you have decreed as your truth. Here lies the secret of your power and your responsibility. The giant does not respond to your occasional desires. It responds to your habitual beliefs. Your beliefs are the premise you have delivered to it. The sleeping sovereign allows the premises to be written by fear, by the past, by the voices of others. The waking sovereign understands that his most important job is to deliberately choose the premise. He knows that his only task is to convince himself of the truth of his desire and then deliver that new premise to the giant with absolute faith. You do not try to convince the giant, you convince yourself, and the moment your conscious mind accepts a new truth, the giant instantly adopts it as its new master blueprint. The second law of the Lodge, the law of subjection to feeling. The second law answers the question, how is the premise delivered? How does the conscious sovereign speak to the subconscious giant? The secret language of the Lodge is feeling. The subconscious, as we have seen, is the mind of the body. It is the mind of emotion. It is an impersonal power, but it is not an intellectual power. It is a sensory power. It is blind to logic, but infinitely sensitive to vibration. The great mystic Neville Goddard, a grand master of this science, summarized it in a phrase that is the key to this principle. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. An idea, however clear it may be in your conscious mind, if it is not charged with the energy of emotion, is an unsigned blueprint, a decree without the royal seal. It is an order that the giant does not recognize as authentic, but an idea impregnated and saturated with the feeling of its own reality becomes an irrefutable command. Imagine a sovereign who wants to build a bridge. If he simply thinks about the bridge, the giant, his master builder, remains motionless. It is just another thought in the noisy court. But if the sovereign closes his eyes and feels the solid stone of the bridge under his feet, if he feels the breeze on his face as he crosses it, if he feels the deep gratitude of his people for the new connection, the giant receives the message. It has not understood the word bridge, but it has understood the experience of the connection, solidity, and gratitude, and it will begin to move the earth and stone to materialize that feeling. Your job as sovereign is not to think about your desire. It is to feel your desire as an already present reality. Feeling is the signature that authenticates the decree, the royal seal that tells the giant, this is an order, execute it. The third law of the Lodge, the ritual of imprinting. Knowing the language, feeling, and the authority, faith. You must now learn the moment and the method for delivering your decree. The giant is not always receptive to new fundamental orders. During the day, the gatekeeper, your conscious and critical mind, the 5%, is on high alert, questioning and blocking any new order that contradicts the old programming. The most sacred moment, the instant when the gatekeeper dozes off and the doors to the giant's throne room swing wide open, is the drowsy state, that magical portal, the twilight state between wakefulness and sleep. In this state, as we have already seen, your mind is in theta waves, the same hypnotic state of your childhood, are once again in direct recording mode. The ritual of imprinting, therefore, is a nightly ritual. It is your most important work of the day. The subconscious Labi protocol. Step 1. The preparation of the temple. Softening the wax. The sovereign does not enter his royal chamber haphazardly. He prepares the space. Your ritual begins before your head hits the pillow. The last hour before sleep is your sacred preparation. Silence the outer world. You cannot soften the inner wax if the outer world is shouting. An hour before sleep, turn off screens. The blue light from your phone or television is a direct command to your brain to remain in the beta state of alertness and analysis. It is the equivalent of blowing cold air onto the wax. Turn off the news, which are injections of fear and chaos, the antithesis of receptivity. Dim the lights, read an inspiring book, listen to serene music, silence the inner world. Allow your mind and body to begin to slow down, to shed the armor of the day that was. Let go of worries. Do not try to solve tomorrow's problems. This is not the time for logic, but for reception. This is the first act of softening the wax. Step 2. The creation of the seal. Defining the feeling. Before entering the drowsy state, you must have your seal ready. You must know with absolute clarity what the feeling of your wish fulfilled is. It is not a complex story. It is a simple impression, a singular feeling. The key is brevity and implication. Do not visualize the how you got there. Do not visualize a process. Visualize a single act, a single scene that could only occur after your wish has been fulfilled. If you desire prosperity, the scene is not a detailed account of how you earned the money. The scene could be simply the feeling of your fingers touching an object that you would only buy if you were already prosperous. Or simpler still, the feeling of absolute relief when looking at your bank account. If you desire healing, the scene is not the treatment. The scene is your body moving with a freedom and energy it lacked before, climbing stairs effortlessly, running on the beach. Or it can be a simple phrase you repeat in your mind, but not as an affirmation, but as a sigh of awe. I feel wonderfully well. If you desire love, the scene is not the story of how you met someone. The scene is the simple and tangible feeling of a hand in yours, or the warmth of a presence beside you, in the stillness and the feeling of peace that produces. Condense your desire into a single act, a single phrase, a single feeling. This will be the chorus of your lullaby. Step 3. The descent to the portal. Finding the drowsy state. Now lie down, close your eyes, and begin the conscious descent into sleep. Relax your body part by part. Feel the weight of the day dissolving into the mattress. Your goal is to reach that magical state, the hypnagogic or drowsy state, that perfect point of balance where you are no longer completely awake, but not yet asleep. It is the threshold where the guardian of your critical mind, the conscious 5%, has lowered its spear, and the doors of the subconscious citadel are open, unguarded. You do not have to force it. Simply allow yourself to drift. Feel the pleasant heaviness of your eyelids, the gentle drifting of your thoughts. You have reached the portal. The wax is soft and warm. Step 4. The song of the lullaby, the imprint of the seal. And now, with infinite gentleness, with the delicacy of an artist, you begin to sing your lullaby, not with your voice, but with your imagination and your feeling. You bring your short scene into your consciousness. You live it once, You feel the feeling it implies with all possible intensity, and then you repeat it and again and again. It is not a mechanical repetition. It is a back and forth. It is the rhythmic movement of a rocking chair. With each repetition, you deepen the feeling. With each repetition, the image becomes more real, more natural, more familiar. You are not trying to manifest. You are not asking. You are simply resting in the sensation that your wish is already real, feeling the relief, the gratitude, the peace. If your mind wanders and brings you a worry from the day, do not get frustrated. The sovereign is kind to his own court. Simply with the same gentleness with which a mother returns her baby to the cradle, you return your attention to the lullaby, to the scene, to the feeling. Step 5. The seal in sleep. The delivery to the giant. You continue this gentle rhythmic loop until at some point, without realizing it, you cross the threshold. You fall asleep, the middle of your imaginary act. This is the moment of the seal. This is the instant of deep imprinting. By falling asleep, feeling your wish fulfilled, you have done something miraculous. You have delivered to the giant your subconscious builder not a desire but a felt reality, and you have sealed that reality with the power of sleep. Your last conscious thought impregnated with the feeling of your wish fulfilled becomes the primary directive that your subconscious will work to materialize throughout the night. It in its infinite wisdom and unlimited power will take that feeling as the master blueprint, and it will begin to move the invisible threads of the universe to organize the synchronicities to inspire your actions of the following day to move heaven and earth to build in the world of form, perfect reflection of the truth you have delivered. Chapter 5. The Lost Language. The Language of Feeling. This is where most initiates fail. They try to speak to the giant in the language of the conscious mind. They try to reason with it, convince it with logic, force it with willpower. It is the sovereign who, standing on his balcony, shouts orders to his builder in a foreign language. The builder in his loyalty hears the noise, but does not understand the message, and lacking a clear new order, he simply continues building the old castle, the one of limitation and fear. You must understand this. Your conscious mind and your subconscious mind speak two completely different languages. Your conscious mind, the sovereign on his balcony, speaks the language of logic, words, analysis, linear time. Your subconscious mind, the giant builder, speaks a much older language, a language that existed before words. It is a lost language, a language you have forgotten how to speak. Although it is your true mother tongue, it is the language of feeling. The great mystic and master, Neville Goddard, summarized the entirety of the law of creation in a phrase that is the golden key to this chapter. Feeling is the secret. The giant is not deaf to your words because it is disobedient. It is deaf because words are not its language. The giant is the mind of the body. It is the intelligence that operates your heart, your lungs, your nervous system. It is the mind of sensation. It does not think about sadness. It feels it as a tightness in the chest. It does not think about joy. It feels it as an expansion. Your thought is a blueprint. It is an electrical design. It is the idea. Your feeling is the magnet. It is the magnetic signature. It is the power. A thought, no matter how clear it is. I want to be prosperous. If it is not charged with the feeling of prosperity, is an unsigned blueprint. It is a decree without the royal seal. It is a whisper that the giant cannot hear above the noise of your habitual state of being. This is the reason why billions of prayers bounce off the ceiling every day. They are born from the conscious mind, from the beggar who pleads, "Please give me this." The thought is, "Give me," but the underlying feeling is, "I don't have." And the giant, which only speaks the language of feeling, ignores the words and obeys the feeling. It hears, "I don't have," and with perfect obedience gives you more of that. It builds a kingdom that perfectly reflects the lack you feel. The true prayer, The scientific prayer is the art of aligning thought and feeling. It is the act of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you can, in the workshop of your imagination, generate the feeling of perfect health, the feeling of the relief of abundance, the feeling of the peace of love, you have stopped asking. You have begun to decree in the only language the universe understands. You have stopped sending it a blueprint. You have sent it a finished building on the invisible plane, and the giant has no choice but to copy it in the physical world. Add in a sovereign who wishes to hold a great festival in his kingdom. He wants his people to feel joy and celebrate prosperity. First, he calls his scribe, the logical mind. He writes an impeccable decree with eloquent prose and irrefutable logic, describing every detail of the festival and why everyone should be happy. He nails it in the town square. The people read the decree. The king orders us to be happy, they read. But their hearts are heavy from a long winter of scarcity. They look at the paper. They understand the words, but they feel nothing. The decree has no power. The sovereign, frustrated, calls his architect, the imagination. Build a stage, he orders. Decorate the square. The architect builds a magnificent stage, but the stage remains empty. The people look at it, but still do not feel the joy. Finally, the sovereign in his desperation calls the royal musician. The heart. The musician has been silent all this time, waiting to be called. The sovereign says to him, I have failed. I have used logic and form, but I do not know how to give them joy. The musician smiles. He takes his lute. He does not say a word. He simply sits in the square and begins to play. He plays the music of spring, the vibration of celebration, the frequency of joy. At first it is a whisper, then melody. The people hearing it lift their heads. Their feet begin to move on their own, following the rhythm. A smile is born on their lips without them knowing why. The feeling of the music has done what neither the logical decree nor the empty stage could do. It has transmitted the state, and soon the entire square is dancing. The festival has begun. Your heart is that musician. Your feeling is that music. You can write all the logical decrees you want. You can build the most beautiful stages in your imagination. But if your heart does not play the music of your wish fulfilled, the kingdom will remain motionless, the sovereign's workshop. Assumption versus pretense. How do you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled? How do you feel something that your five senses tell you is not yet real? The mind, upon hearing this, tries to pretend. It tries to force a smile, repress the fear, and act as if. But this is an act of the ego and the subconscious giant. The master builder cannot be fooled. Pretending is an act of the conscious mind that at its root is born from the awareness of lack. It is like a terrible actor reciting his lines without conviction while glancing at the audience, waiting for applause. There is tension. There is effort. The giant perceives the dissonance between the mask and the real underlying feeling, fear, and it obeys the feeling, ignoring the mask. Assuming is not pretending to be something you are not. It is the act of remembering who you are on a deeper level and choosing to inhabit that truth, despite the shadows projected in the world of effects. Assumption is an act of sovereign consciousness. It is the king who, even dressed as a beggar, knows in the marrow of his bones that he is the king. He does not try to act like a king. He simply is the king. And his internal state, sooner or later, must rearrange the external world to align with his truth. Your job is not to convince yourself of your desire. It is to assume the identity of the person who already possesses it. And to do this, the sovereign uses the most powerful tool in his court, imagination. Imagination is the portal to feeling. Your imagination is not a factory of fantasies to escape the present. It is a portal. It is the dimensional door that allows you to travel in consciousness. It allows you to deliberately leave the reality of your five senses, which is only an echo of the past, and enter the reality of your wish fulfilled with the sole purpose of feeling it, of capturing its emotional signature and bringing it back to the present. The sovereign does not use his imagination to see his desire. He uses it to feel it. The image is the key. The feeling is the treasure. I imagine a young prince who has lived his entire life in exile in a distant village, unaware of his lineage. He has lived as a peasant in lack and struggle. One day a royal messenger finds him, shows him the royal seal, and reveals the truth. He is the sole heir to the throne, and his kingdom awaits him. At first, the prince does not believe it. His reality is one of exile, of lack. But the messenger has given him the proof, the knowledge, this manuscript. The prince has two options: the beggar's path. He can continue living as an exiled person, doubting his power, passively waiting for the royal army to come for him. He can wait for the day of the coronation to finally feel like a king, the sovereign's path. Or he can from that instant begin to assume the state of king. Even in his simple peasant clothes, he begins to walk differently. His gaze acquires a new authority, his voice a new resonance. He thinks not from the perspective of an exiled person who waits, but from that of a sovereign who prepares to rule. He does not pretend to be a king. He is rehearsing his being. He is aligning his inner state with his inevitable truth. Which of the two do you think will govern with more wisdom when he finally sits on the throne? You are that heir. And the revelation of this knowledge is the messenger who has brought you the royal seal. Your job is not to wait for the coronation, the physical manifestation. Your job is to begin right now to feel like the sovereign, the reality that is already yours by divine right. The subconscious giant does not respond to fleeting emotions. It is a builder. It needs stable blueprints. You cannot build a palace on an earthquake. A fleeting emotion is an outburst, an intense moment of joy, a flash of anger. It is a wave that rises and falls. A state is a climate. It is a feeling you choose to inhabit. It is the assumption sustained over time. The giant ignores the waves, but it obeys the climate. It will not build a kingdom of abundance because you felt happy for 5 minutes after watching a movie. It will build a kingdom of abundance when the peace of financial security has become your habitual state of being, your emotional home. The waking sovereign, therefore, does not seek sparks of happiness. He seeks to cultivate an inner climate of peace, certainty, and gratitude. And here is where faith reveals its true nature. Faith is not blind hope. It is emotional discipline. Faith is the art of remaining loyal to the feeling of your wish fulfilled even when the mirror of the external world shouts to you that it is a lie. It is the act of the heir who continues to feel like a king, even while eating the food of the exiled. The waking sovereign knows that the world of the senses is a world of shadows, an echo of the past, and he refuses to give it authority. His loyalty is not with the echo. It is with the source, with the new song he is playing in his heart. Sustaining that feeling, despite the contrary evidence, is the act of faith that seals the imprint. It is the constant pressure of the seal on the wax, and the giant, perceiving this unshakable conviction, has no choice but to dissolve the old kingdom and build the new. How is this assumption practiced? Through the same sacred ritual we have learned, the ritual of deep imprinting, the scientific prayer, but now understanding that its sole and true purpose is to generate the feeling. Enter the workshop. Withdraw into your stillness. Prepare for sleep. The theta portal. Define the implied scene. Choose your short scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Use the scene to evoke the feeling. Live that scene in the first person, not to see it but to use it as a script to evoke an emotion. If your desire is healing, the scene could be a friend saying to you, "I've never seen you look so well." Do not concentrate on your friend's face or the exact words. Concentrate on the feeling those words would generate in you. The wave of relief, the deep gratitude, the serene joy of freedom. Release the scene and inhabit the feeling. Once you have captured that feeling, you can release the scene. The key has done its job. Now you bathe in the treasure. You inhabit that feeling of relief. You make it yours. You breathe it. You let it saturate every cell of your body. You become it. Fall asleep in the state. You fall asleep not thinking about your healing, but being the healthy person who feels immense relief. Chapter 6. The Workshop of Silence. Imagination as cause. You have learned to use the sacred portal of sleep to deliver your decrees sealed with the faith of your wish fulfilled. You have the key to the engine room. But what blueprint do you hand the builder? What image do you give the giant to materialize? Because the giant in its infinite power is also blind. It cannot build what it cannot see. It will build with absolute and literal fidelity the image you hold in your mind with the greatest consistency and conviction. During your amnesia, the images you have held have been for the most part those of fear, doubt, and memory of failure. And the giant in its loyalty has built a kingdom that perfectly reflects those ruinous blueprints. To build a new kingdom, to erect a palace of abundance and peace, you must first become a master architect. You must learn to use the most divine, most powerful, and most misunderstood tool of the sovereign. You must enter the workshop of silence. The untrained mind, that of the subject, has been conditioned to despise imagination. It sees it as a fantasy, a useless daydream, a childish escape from real life. It has been taught to trust only what its five senses present to it in the world of hard, solid facts. But the waking sovereign knows the truth. The facts of the external world are not reality. They are the result. They are the building already constructed, an echo of the past, a reflection of yesterday's blueprints. The true creation, the true power, resides not in the world of effects, but in the world of cause. And the only place where the cause can be altered, where the future can be redesigned, is in the workshop of your imagination. We must make a crucial distinction. Fantasy is passive. It is a reaction to the present. It is a passive daydreaming, a longing for something one does not have. Its vibration is one of lack. It is the beggar dreaming of a feast. Disciplined imagination is active. It is a causal action. It is an active, deliberate dreaming, an act of reclaiming a reality that already exists. Its vibration is one of certainty. It is the king designing the menu. Every great human achievement, from a cathedral that touches the sky, symphony that makes the soul weep from the bridge, connecting two continents to the rocket, traveling to the stars, first existed complete and perfect in the workshop of its creators, imagination. Imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the act of creation of reality itself, the physics of vision. How a mental blueprint becomes a physical fact. The power of imagination is not a mystical belief. It is a law of consciousness engineering, a process that operates through precise neurobiological and metaphysical mechanisms. 1. The principle of equivalence. The giant does not distinguish reality. Your subconscious giant, the builder of the temple, is blind to the external world. Its only reality is the information that you, the conscious sovereign, provide to it, and for it a vividly imagined experience and a physically lived experience are identical. Your brain, the giant's control panel, cannot clearly distinguish between an action that is happening out there and an action that you are living with. Intensity in here. When you perform an act in your imagination, you are activating the same neural circuits, releasing the same biochemistry, and sending the same signals to your body that would be activated if you were performing the action physically. An athlete who visualizes the perfect race is at a neurological level running. Their brain sends micro-signals to their muscles, forging the muscle memory of victory. When you, the sovereign, sit on your inner throne and in your imagination walk the halls of your already built palace, you are not dreaming. You are rewiring your brain. You are forging the neural highways of your new reality even before the first stone has been laid. 2. the creation of a memory of the future. This rewiring leads us to the heart of the secret. The result of this disciplined mental rehearsal is the creation of a memory of the future. Your subconscious giant is a habit machine. Its function is to recreate the past. Your current life is the execution of the memories of the past you have recorded in it. To change the future, you must give the giant a new memory from which to operate. The act of disciplined imagination is the act of installing a new memory, a memory of an event that on the three-dimensional plane has not yet occurred, but that for the giant is already a fact. Once this memory is installed through repetition and feeling, the giant's work changes completely. It now has a conflict. It has an internal memory of abundance and external evidence of scarcity. And because its absolute loyalty is to the internal imprint, to the sovereign's command, its new mission becomes clear. It must rearrange the external world to align with the new master blueprint. It will begin to move the threads of the universe to guide your steps, to inspire your actions, the inspired action to orchestrate the synchronicities, chance, all with a single purpose: to build in the physical world the palace that you have already built in the workshop of silence. You are not attracting your future. You are building it from inside out, rewiring your own brain to become the machine that will inevitably manifest it. In an ancient kingdom, a wise king decided to build the most magnificent city ever seen. But instead of hiring thousands of architects, he locked himself in a tower for a year. His counselors, perplexed, believed he had gone mad, that the king was not idle. He was building. In the vast workshop of his imagination, he walked the streets of his city. He felt the polished marble of the squares under his feet, listened to the sound of the fountains. He saw the way the sunlight filtered through the arches. He designed every building, every street, every garden, not as a blueprint, but as a lived experience. He corrected errors, optimized flows, perfected the beauty, all within his mind. He lived in his imaginary city until it was more real to him than the castle he was in. After a year, he emerged from the tower. He did not carry a complex file of blueprints. He carried a single sheet of parchment on which he had drawn the essence, feeling of the city. He handed it to his master builder, his inner giant, and said, "Build this. You know the feeling. The rest are details." The construction in the physical world was fast and seamless because it was not an act of creation, but an act of translation. The city had already been built in the only dimension where creation truly occurs, the dimension of the sovereign's mind, the four laws of the perfect scene. Now that you know that your imagination is the most potent neurological reprogramming tool you possess, we become the master craftsmen. We stop being passive dreamers and become engineers of reality. How is this workshop used with the mastery of a visionary? How do you create an image so real that your brain accepts it as a memory, and the universe has no choice but to materialize it? You do not daydream randomly. You do not get lost in vague, undirected fantasies. You become a film director of your own soul. And your first act is the writing of the script, the forging of the master blueprint. For your imaginary act to have maximum power, for it to be accepted by the subconscious giant as an irrefutable command, it must be forged with clarity and precision. It cannot be a long rambling scene. It must be a quantum mold, a perfectly carved jewel, a 5 to 10 second trailer of your finished movie. The scene you build in your mind must comply with 4 fundamental laws, the 4 pillars of the temple of creation. The first law, the law of the final result, the art of assumption. The first and most important law is that the sovereign never visualizes the how. You never imagine the process, the struggle, the intermediate steps, the mountain to be climbed. Visualizing the how is an act of the ego, of the logical mind that believes it must control the process. And by doing so, you only imagine the obstacles you already know, closing the door to miracles and routes that your limited mind cannot conceive. Instead, you always visualize the consummated final result. You do not imagine looking for a job, you imagine the conversation with a loved one, telling them with serene joy and deep relief, "I got the job. It's perfect." You do not imagine the medical treatment. You imagine the doctor looking at you in astonishment and saying, "The results are perfect. You are completely healthy by living from the end." You perform an act of supreme power. You are quantum jumping over all possible obstacles of the how, which belong to the giant's domain, not yours. You are declaring with the authority of a king that the creation is already finished on the only plane that matters, the plane of your consciousness. The second law, the law of the first person, the art of embodiment. The second law is that of total immersion. The sovereign is not a spectator of their own kingdom. They are its center. You do not watch a movie of yourself from the outside, as if you were a distant observer. You are the protagonist. The scene is always lived through your own eyes. You do not see yourself receiving a hug. You feel the arms around you and see the other person's shoulder over yours. You do not see yourself driving your new car. You feel the touch of the steering wheel in your hands and see the road through the windshield. You do not see yourself healthy. You feel the vitality from within your own body. This distinction is crucial. Watching a movie of yourself maintains separation. It is the subject's prayer. Looking at the king on his throne, living the scene from within turns it into an experience, a memory. It is the king feeling the weight of the crown on his head. You are giving your brain a lived experience, not an observed fantasy. The third law, the law of sensory richness, the giant's language. The third law is the one that gives body and substance to your vision. The subconscious giant, as we have seen, is the mind of the body. It does not understand abstract ideas. It understands sensations. To convince it that your blueprint is real, you must speak its language. You must make your scene sensorily rich. The sovereign becomes a poet of the senses. In their inner workshop, they ask, "What do I see with my own eyes in this scene?" The colors, the textures, the light, the expression on a person's face. What sounds do I hear? That person's voice congratulating you, your own laughter, the sound of the sea. What do I feel on my skin? The breeze, the warmth, the touch of an object. Keys, contract. Is there a smell or a taste associated with my wish fulfilled? The smell of the new car, the taste of the celebration champagne. The more sensory details you can weave into your scene, the more real the experience will be for your nervous system. You are not simply thinking about a new house, you are smelling the fresh paint, feeling the carpet under your bare feet, and hearing the echo of your laughter in the empty rooms. You are creating a multi-sensory memory. The fourth law, the law of emotional impregnation, the seal of feeling. Finally, we come to the fire that gives life to the creation, the signature that seals the decree. The scene, however perfect and detailed, is just a cold mold if it is not filled with feeling. Emotion is the substance of manifestation. The image is the blueprint. Feeling is the energy that mobilizes the builders. You must impregnate your imaginary act with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not the feeling of longing or nervous excitement. Those are the emotions of the one who pursues. The sovereign's feeling is serene gratitude, expansive relief, the silent peace of something that is already a fact. This feeling is the king's signature. It is the royal seal that, when stamped on the blueprint, turns it into an irrefutable decree. It tells the giant, this is not a dream. This is an order build. The second practice, the nightly projection, the ritual of deep imprinting with your short scene, no more than 10-15 seconds in the first person, sensorially rich and emotionally charged, already designed. The moment for the installation ritual arrives. The architect of the soul knows that the most receptive canvas, the moment when the subconscious is most open to receiving a new blueprint without the interference of the critical guardian of the logical mind, is the drowsy state, that sacred portal between wakefulness and sleep, where your brain operates in theta waves. Every night you prepare for your creation ritual. Enter the stillness, lie down completely, relax your body through deep breathing. Calm the noise of the day, let go of all tension. Open the portal. Once you feel the guardian of the logical mind begin to doze off, when you are in that delicious floating state, you reach the portal. The wax is soft. The giant is listening. Live the scene. You do not force it. With a gentle, relaxed intention, you enter your short, perfect scene. You live it in the first person. You feel the texture of the signed document. You hear the word of congratulations. You feel the wave of gratitude in your chest. Repeat until imprinted the lullaby, and then the curtain falls. You return to the beginning of the brief scene and repeat it again and again, not with tense effort, but as a lullaby, a gentle sensory mantra that soothes you. You continue this loop, feeling the emotion deeper and deeper until the scene becomes so real and so natural that you fall asleep inside it. This act of impregnating the subconscious mind right before sleep is the most potent act of manifestation that exists. It is delivering the finalized blueprint to the master builder just before it begins its 8-hour shift in the construction of your world. During sleep, your subconscious, which never rests, will take that emotion-charged blueprint as its new directive. And it will immediately begin to organize the synchronicities, move the pieces, guide your impulses, and build the bridge of incidents that will lead you naturally and inevitably to the physical embodiment of your vision. Chapter 7. The Anatomy of Faith. Certainty as a magnet. In the subject's mind, in the consciousness living behind the veil of forgetfulness, faith is a synonym for hope. It is a wish cast into the darkness, a plea to an external power to intervene. I hope it works. I hope he hears me. I hope I get lucky. This hope, though beautifully human, is a vibration of doubt. At its root, it is the confession of a lack. It is the beggar's prayer, hoping for alms. The faith of the waking sovereign, the faith spoken of in forbidden metaphysics, has nothing to do with hope. It is of a completely different substance. Metaphysical faith is not hope. It is certainty. It is not a petition. It is an assumption. It is not hoping it happens. It is living in the feeling that it has already happened. It is the act of a sovereign's absolute loyalty to the invisible reality he has decreed in his workshop of silence above the tyranny of the evidence presented by his 5 senses. The physics of doubt. The decree of failure. To understand the power of faith, we must first understand with the precision of an engineer its opposite, doubt. Doubt is not a simple negative thought. It is a creative force. It is a counter-manifestation. It is a prayer for failure. Imagine that in your workshop of silence, you spent an hour imprinting the blueprint of perfect health onto your subconscious giant. You felt it. You imagined it. You sang the subconscious lullaby. You did the work. Then you leave your workshop, enter the world of the senses, feel the old pain in your body, and your conscious mind, the counselor of fear, whispers, "It didn't work. It still hurts." In that instant you have just taken your magnificent master blueprint, the royal seal you had imprinted on the wax, and shattered it into 1,000 pieces. Why? Because doubt is also a feeling. It is a vibration. And it is a vibration that your giant is very, very accustomed to. Your hour of faith was a whisper, your thought of doubt backed by years of programming, and the proof of your senses was a roar. You have given the builder 2 contradictory blueprints, and the giant in its literal obedience, receiving 1 command, health, and an immediate counter-command, pain, paralyzes, or worse yet, continues building the old blueprint of pain, because that is the order that has been emitted with greater conviction and familiarity. Doubt is the sovereign's decree of failure. It is the poison that aborts creation in its cradle. The cosmic power of your subconscious is always at your service, but it cannot serve two contradictory masters. The physics of faith, the magnet of certainty. Faith, then, is the discipline of maintaining a single master. Faith is the art of loyalty. It is the act of remaining loyal to the invisible truth of your creation, even when the world of shadows, your current reality, shouts that it is a lie. Faith is the magnet. How does it work? It seals the imprint. When you maintain faith, certainty, you are keeping the seal of your wish fulfilled, pressed firmly against the soft wax of your subconscious. You are allowing the impression to be deeply engraved. Doubt is the act of lifting the seal every 5 seconds to see if it's working, preventing the image from being engraved. It generates the pure vibration. Faith is a state of being. It is the vibration of peace and certainty. It is the music of the solution. The universe, which is a mirror of your music upon hearing this song of certainty, has no choice but to orchestrate the circumstances that match it. It is the assumption of the wish fulfilled. Faith is the art of living in the end. It is the sovereign who, having decreed the construction of the palace, no longer thinks about the palace. He thinks from the palace. He no longer longs for wealth. He thinks from wealth. He no longer seeks health. He thinks from health. This shift in perspective is the secret of all power. You stop being the beggar who looks at the feast from the outside, and you become the host who is already sitting at the table. And the moment you assume that state, the giant receives its clearest command. The feast must appear, for the host is already present. Imagine a master sculptor standing before a formless marble block. The sleeping sovereign, the subject's mind, sees the marble and laments. This is just a rock. It will never be a statue. He sees the evidence of his senses. The waking sovereign, the master's mind, looks at the same marble block, but does not see the rock. He sees with his inner eye the perfect statue that already exists within. The master's job is not to create the statue. It is to liberate it. His work is with an absolute faith in the vision that only he can see, to remove all the marble that is not the statue. Every strike of his chisel is an act of faith. The external world, his apprentices, who are your 5 senses, only sees dust, noise, and rubble. They may whisper, "He's crazy. He is destroying the stone. There is no statue in there." But the master does not listen. His loyalty is not with the rubble at his feet. It is with the vision in his mind. He holds that certainty, that feeling of the finished work, and keeps striking, knowing that every blow, guided by that faith, is revealing what he already knows to be true. And in the end, the dust settles, and the perfect statue is revealed to everyone's astonishment. It was not a miracle. It was an act of sustained faith. Your life is that marble block. Your current circumstances are the excess stone, and your vision, your imagination, is the perfect statue within it. Faith is the unshakable certainty that guides your hand as you remove day by day everything that does not belong to your masterpiece. Your 5 senses, your sight, your hearing, your touch, are not windows to the truth. They are historians. They are instruments designed to measure and report on the reality that has already been created on the echoes of your past programming. When you have done your inner work, you have planted a new seed. You have emitted a new decree in the workshop of silence. But the world of the senses, by its nature, has a delay. The mirror is slow to update. What you see now with your physical eyes is not your current creation. It is the reflection of your beliefs from yesterday, last week, last year. And here begins the battle for your loyalty. Your inner eye imagination shows you the palace finished. Your physical eyes, senses, show you the ruined foundations and the old debts. Doubt is the act of betraying yourself. It is the act of giving your loyalty, your belief, and your energy to the echo of the past over the truth of the present, your inner creation. Imagine you are the captain of an immense supertanker. your life sailing on autopilot, programmed by your past. Your course is taking you straight to the rocks of scarcity and conflict. You take control. You go to the helm, your workshop of silence, and with all the force of your imagination and feeling, you turn the helm hard toward a new course, the open ocean of abundance. You have done the work, you have turned the helm, but the ship is immense. It has colossal inertia. It is not a speedboat. You go out onto the bridge and look out the window. What do you see? You still see the rocks of scarcity. The ship, due to its own inertia, will take miles to change course. The novice captain, the subject, panics. He looks at the evidence of his senses, the rocks, and shouts, "Didn't work. The helm is broken." The law of nautical science is a lie, and in his fear, he runs back to the helm and turns it back toward the rocks, because that at least is a familiar course. He has aborted his own salvation, betraying his own order. The master captain, the sovereign, goes out onto the bridge. He sees the rocks, but he does not panic. He feels certainty. Why? Because his faith is not in the external landscape, the past. His faith is in the helm, his inner act. He knows the helm has been turned. He knows that the law of nautical physics, the law of the subconscious, is immutable, and that the ship is inevitably turning. His only discipline is to hold the helm steady. It is to refuse to yield to the panic shouted by his senses. It is to remain loyal to his decree. Faith, therefore, is the discipline of not turning the helm back. It is the art of remaining in the state of the wish fulfilled even if the whole world seems to deny it. The three practices, the discipline of loyalty. The first practice, discipline of sovereign indifference. The sleeping sovereign lives as a slave to his senses. If his senses inform him of scarcity, he feels scarcity and thus decrees more scarcity. The waking sovereign learns the most difficult discipline, sovereign indifference. He does not deny the evidence of his senses. Denial is a form of struggle, of resistance. The sovereign does not fight the mirror. He simply withdraws his authority from it. When his eyes show him an unexpected bill, the echo of the past, he acknowledges it, but does not give it his power. He does not panic. He does not feel the old pang of fear. Instead, he stands firm on his inner throne, and with unshakable calm remembers his truth. This is a shadow. It is a fading echo. It is the supertanker's old landscape. It is not my reality. My reality is the abundance I have decreed. My loyalty is with my vision, not with my eyes. This is not a one-day practice. It is the discipline of every moment. It is the art of choosing again and again the invisible reality over the visible illusion. Second practice, the fast of evidence, the seal of silence. Just as the gardener does not unearth the seed, the sovereign does not look for proof that his order is working. The act of looking for proof is in itself an act of doubt. It is telling the giant, "I don't trust that you are working, so I'm coming to supervise you." Your practice is the fast of evidence. For a period of time that you yourself decree, 1 day, 3 days, a week, you forbid yourself from looking for signs. You refuse to obsessively check your bank account, to Google the symptom, to analyze your partner's behavior. During this fast, your only task is to maintain the feeling. It is to live in the workshop of silence, in the inner palace, in the certainty that the work is already finished. This fast of evidence is an immense act of faith. It is the demonstration to your subconscious that you trust it completely. And the giant, feeling this absolute confidence, works with redoubled speed and efficiency. The third practice, the Sabbath, the state of rest. The great masters called this state of sustained faith the Sabbath, or the rest. It is the state of consciousness you reach after performing your creative act in the workshop of silence. It is the moment the architect puts down the pencil. It is the moment the king seals the decree. It is the moment the musician releases the string. Chapter 8. The Ritual of Deep Imprinting. Now we arrive at the heart of the great work. We stop being explorers of different territories and become the master architect who unifies all the arts. We are going to take all the knowledge you have acquired about the 7 levels and consolidate it into a single powerful act of creation. We are going to perform the ritual of deep imprinting. But first, we must understand why your past attempts to manifest have so often been frustrating, erratic, or completely unsuccessful. You have desired, you have affirmed with fervor, you have visualized with effort, and the result in most cases has been scarce or worse, a silence that your mind has interpreted as a failure. The failure was never due to a lack of power. Your power is sovereign, is infinite. The failure was never due to a flaw in the law. The law is as immutable as gravity. The failure was due always to a poor execution of the ritual. Imagine that your consciousness is the office of a grand architect, and you are trying to print a master blueprint. You have a perfect design in your mind, your desire, but you commit 3 fatal errors. You send the document to the printer, subconscious, while it is turned off or in the middle of 20 other print jobs, your conscious mind noisy and in the beta state. The command is lost in the chaos. The document you send is a blurry, contradictory draft, a vague desire mixed with the feeling of fear. The printer does not know what to build. You press print with the trembling hand of doubt, and 1 second later, press cancel because you don't see the paper coming out immediately. The ritual of deep imprinting corrects these 3 errors. It is an act of consciousness engineering, and like any great ritual, its success does not depend on luck but on impeccable preparation. Preparation for the ritual part 1. Forging the master blueprint. The sovereign does not appear before the builder with a sketch on a napkin. He appears with a master blueprint, a design so clear, so precise, and so cope that the subconscious giant does not have to interpret anything. It only has to build before you can dream of imprinting. You must forge this blueprint. Step 1. The distillation from desire to essence. Your first step is not imagination, but clarification. You take your vague desire and distill it down to its essence. The giant does not build cars or money, it builds states of being. You take your superficial desire, I want $1 million, and you apply the sovereign's chisel, the sacred question. Why? Why do I want $1 million? To pay off my debts and stop worrying. Why do I want to stop worrying? Because worry is exhausting. I want to feel secure. What does security feel like? What would it give me? It would give me peace. It would give me a feeling of relief, expansion, freedom. There it is. That is the true blueprint. Not money. It is peace, relief, and freedom. The wise sovereign knows that his logical mind, the 5%, is terrible at conceiving the how. If you order the giant, give me $1 million, your own conscious mind will start to doubt. That's impossible. The lottery odds are nil. I don't have the connections. You create a civil war before starting. But if you give the order to print the feeling of financial peace, your conscious mind cannot argue with that. It is a state of being, and by focusing on the essence you give the giant, with its cosmic power, infinite freedom to organize the details. Financial peace can come through that $1 million, or through a brilliant idea that generates 10 million, or through a restructuring of your life that gives you the same peace with much less. Distill your desire. Do you want the perfect relationship, or do you want the feeling of unconditional connection and total acceptance? Do you want the perfect body, or do you want the feeling of radiant vitality and effortless energy? Find the essence that is your gold. Step 2. The scene of the wish fulfilled. The sensory blueprint. Once you have the essence, peace, freedom, love, You construct a short, simple scene that implies that state is already your reality. This scene is your blueprint, your seal, and it must follow the laws of the architect's workshop, the law of the final result. Your scene must be a fatal complete. Do not visualize the healing process. Visualize the scene after the doctor has discharged you. The law of the first person. Do not watch a movie of yourself. Be the actor. Live the scene through your own eyes. The law of sensory richness. The giant speaks the language of the senses. The blueprint must be sensory. Let's assemble the master blueprint for financial peace. Scene blueprint. You are in your bed. It is night. The room is calm. Sight 1p. Through your eyes you see the silhouette of the window, with the soft moonlight filtering in. You look at the ceiling in the dimness. Touch sensory. You feel the texture of the soft, clean sheets on your skin. You feel the comforting weight of the comforter. Hearing sensory. You hear your partner's deep, tranquil breathing beside you, or the peaceful silence of the house. You hear your own sigh. Key act implication. You take a deep breath, and your chest does not feel the familiar tightness of anxiety.
The universe does not hurry.
You feel
Yet
space. You feel the deep, warm, and expansive wave of relief flooding your solar plexus. Thought seal. Single thought, which is more of a feeling, emerges. How wonderful. Everything is paid for. I am at peace. I am safe. This 10-second scene is your master blueprint. It is simple. It is in the first person. It is sensory. You feel the sheets here. Your sigh. Feel the relief in your chest. And it perfectly implies the fulfillment of your desire. You have forged the seal, the ritual of deep imprinting. Part 2. The subconscious lullaby. You have the blueprint, the scene, and the feeling. The seal. Now comes the art of delivering the order in the giant's language, and at the most receptive moment. This is the subconscious lullaby protocol. Step 1. Preparing the temple, softening the wax. The sovereign does not enter his royal chamber haphazardly. He prepares the space. Your ritual begins before your head hits the pillow. The last hour before sleep is your sacred preparation. Silence the outer world. An hour before sleep, turn off screens, avoid news, dim the lights. This is the first act of softening the wax, reducing the beta wave interference. Silence the inner world. Allow your mind and body to begin to slow down. Surrender the worries. This is the moment of reception, not of logic. Step 2. The descent to the portal. Finding the drowsy state, you lie down, close your eyes. You begin the conscious descent towards sleep. Relax your body part by part until you reach that magical state, the hypnagogic or drowsy state, theta waves. This is the threshold where the guardian of your critical mind has lowered its spear. Wax is soft and warm. The giant is listening unguarded. Step 3. The song of the lullaby, the imprint. And now, with infinite gentleness, with the delicacy of an artist, you begin to sing your lullaby. Live the scene. You bring your short, perfect scene into your consciousness. You live it in the first person. You feel the feeling it implies with all possible intensity, the deep relief in your chest. Repeat until imprinted, the lullaby, and then the curtain falls. You return to the beginning of the brief scene and repeat it again and again. Not with tense effort, but as a lullaby, a gentle sensory mantra. With each repetition, you deepen the feeling. The image becomes more real, more natural, more familiar. Rest in the feeling. You are not trying to manifest, you are simply resting in the sensation that your desire is already real. You are feeling the relief, the peace. Step 4. The seal in sleep. The delivery to the giant. You continue this gentle rhythmic loop until at some point, without realizing it, you cross the threshold. You fall asleep in the middle of your imaginary act. This is the moment of the seal. This is the instant of deep imprinting. By falling asleep, feeling your wish fulfilled, you have delivered to the giant, your subconscious builder, not a desire, but a felt reality. Your last conscious thought impregnated with that feeling becomes the primary directive that your subconscious will work to materialize throughout the night. The giant, in its infinite power and absolute loyalty, will take that feeling as the master blueprint, and it will begin to move the invisible threads of the universe, to organize the synchronicities and to build in the world of form a perfect reflection of the truth you have delivered. Chapter 9. The Mental Diet, the Sovereign's Garden. Imagine a gardener who has prepared the soil with infinite care. He has selected the most perfect seed, one that promises a magnificent tree. He has planted it carefully, reverently, and watered it with the purest water. He has done all his work, but his faith is weak, attached to the outcome, consumed by anxiety. Every morning, instead of trusting the invisible process, he unears the seed with his trembling fingers to see if it is germinating. Seeing no sprout, he sighs in disappointment and rereads it. The next day, tormented by impatience, he repeats the process. What will happen to that seed? Inevitably, it will die. It will never have the chance to grow the delicate root it needs in the stillness and darkness. The very act of checking for growth is what prevents it. Most of us are that anxious gardener. We perform a powerful visualization ritual. We plant the seed of our new reality in the fertile soil of our subconscious, and then we spend the rest of the day unearthing it with our thoughts, our words, and our emotions. We worry about how it will manifest. We doubt whether we have truly done it right. We obsessively look for signs that it is working. We look at our external reality, our bank account, our body in the mirror, our silent phone, and complain that the sprout has not yet appeared. Every one of these acts is born from the same toxic energy, attachment, and attachment is the poison that kills our creations in the cradle. Why? You must understand this with absolute clarity. Doubt is not a simple negative thought. It is a creative force. It is a counter-command. It is a decree of cancellation. Imagine this scene in the court. You, the sovereign, call your builder, the subconscious giant, and hand him the master blueprint. Build this palace of abundance. You command with a feeling of certainty. The giant, in its infinite loyalty, gathers its millions of invisible workers and begins the work. 5 minutes later, you leave your ritual, open your eyes, and see the same old shack of your current reality. You panic. You run after the giant and snatch the blueprint from his hands, shouting, "Wait, I still see the old shack. The palace is not real. Cancel the order." The giant, confused but obedient, stops the work. An hour later, full of remorse, you read an inspiring book, find the giant again and hand him the blueprint anew. "I'm sorry. Now I do believe." Build. The giant patiently mobilizes its workers again. The next morning, upon waking and seeing the same shack, you cancel the order again with your morning anxiety. Do you think that palace will ever be built? Your subconscious giant is that builder. Your act of faith in the workshop of silence is the build order. Your act of doubt in the light of day is the cancel order. Doubt is the act of planting a new seed, a seed of failure on top of the seed of your desire. And the giant, receiving two contradictory orders, paralyzes, or worse yet, continues building the shack, because that is the order you have given it, with more consistency and with more feeling fear over the years. To be able to let go, to free yourself from this agony of doubt, you must understand why the waiting exists. Why doesn't your new reality appear instantly after your visualization? The answer lies in the inertia of the physical world. Imagine your life is a supertanker sailing in a specific direction across the ocean of time. Your old state of being, your old programming, was the course programmed into the autopilot. Course 180, straight to scarcity. The ritual of deep imprinting was the act of going to the control room and turning the helm hard toward a new and magnificent direction. Core 090, toward the ocean of abundance. You have done the work. You have turned the helm. The order has been given. But a million-ton supertanker does not turn instantly like a speedboat. Its mass, its inertia, is immense. It requires an enormous distance, sometimes miles, for its bow to visibly start pointing in the new direction. During all that turning time, if you look out the window of the bridge, you still see the same old landscape. You still see the rocks of scarcity you were trying to avoid. That period of lag, that time between the inner turn of the helm and the external change of scenery, is the mirror test. The world you now see with your 5 senses is not a reflection of your current state. It is an echo of your past state. It is the manifestation of the beliefs and feelings you held yesterday, last week, last year, and the universe, through this lag, is asking you the most important question of all. Do you truly believe it? Do you believe more in the new reality you have built in your inner temple, or do you believe more in the shadows of the past that your physical eyes are showing you? It is a test of conviction. It is a test of faith. And faith in this context is not a blind hope. It is a loyalty. It is the act of remaining loyal to the invisible reality you have created in your imagination above the tyranny of the evidence presented by your senses. Your 5 senses are instruments designed to measure the past. They are the historians of your being. Your imagination, your inner eye, is the only sense that can perceive the future. It is the architect. The mirror test is the battle for your loyalty, and you must choose whom you give your power to. The sovereign's guard. The new duty of the conscious mind. Here the role of your conscious mind, the sovereign, changes drastically. While you were in the workshop of silence, your conscious mind was the architect. Now in the light of day, while the giant builds, your conscious mind becomes the royal guard. Your new creation, that seed you have planted in the subconscious, is like a newborn heir to the throne. It is infinitely valuable. It contains all the lineage of the kingdom. But it is vulnerable. Your old programming, fear, doubt your father's voice, is the old regime, the usurper who does not want to lose power. And it will send assassins, thoughts of doubt, to kill the heir in his cradle. Your conscious mind, as the royal guard, now has one job: to protect the heir. Its job is to patrol the gates of the kingdom. Your 5 senses watch the counselors of the court, your thoughts, and ensure that no traitor comes near the cradle. The first discipline, the fast of reality, the denial of shadows, the first and most fundamental discipline of the guard is to deny authority to the evidence of the senses. It is the art of practicing the fast of reality. Your 5 senses, as we have seen, are historians. They are loyal but limited instruments designed to measure and report on the world that has already been created by your old programming. When you have planted a new seed, your senses will for a time continue to report that the garden is empty. They are by nature liars. They are reporting on an echo of the past. The sleeping sovereign believes his senses above his vision. He sees the echo of scarcity and says, "See, it's true, I'm still poor." And with that declaration, he cancels the new order and reinstalls the old one. The waking sovereign withdraws his power from the senses. His practice is one of sovereign indifference. He does not deny that the bill is there in the world of shadows. Denial is a form of struggle, of resistance. The sovereign does not fight the mirror. He simply withdraws his authority from it. When the echo of the past appears, an unexpected bill, a critical comment, a physical symptom, the royal guard within you observes it, but does not react, does not panic. He does not identify. With absolute calm, the guard says, "I see you. You are a shadow. You are the echo of a law that has already been repealed. You have no authority in this kingdom. I do not give you my energy. You do not deny that the bill is there in the world of shadows. You deny that it has the power to define your new reality. It is the art of looking at Caesar, the material world, and giving Caesar what is Caesar's. Manage the bill, but without giving God your consciousness, your faith, your state being, your loyalty. This fast of reality is the act of diverting your energy. You stop watering the weeds of the past and save all your water, all your attention for the invisible seed of your new creation. The second discipline, the sword of the counter-decree. The royal guard does not just defend passively, he also attacks, but he does not attack with the brute force of repression. He attacks with the light of truth. His weapon is the sword of the counter-decree. In your inner court, the old counselors of fear and doubt, traitors who have governed in your absence, will not surrender easily. They will come to the heir's cradle to whisper poison. The sleeping sovereign listens to these counselors and enters into debate with them, thus giving them his power. The waking sovereign, the one who commands his guard, does not debate with traitors, he silences them. When the thought of doubt appears, your royal guard unsheathes the sword, not with anger, but with a cold, absolute authority, and you execute the counter-decree. Doubt. It's not working. Counter-decree. Your inner voice. The matter is settled. The law has been proclaimed. My giant is building. Only the final result concerns me. Retire. Fear. But look at that bill. It's a disaster. Counter-decree. That bill is a shadow. I am abundance. My supply is infinite. This situation is already resolved. In the divine mind. Thank you. Inherited voice. Who do you think you are? People like us don't have that kind of success. Counter-decree. My worth is not in doubt. My identity is that of the sovereign. Old law is dead. This is the new law. The counter-decree is not a hopeful affirmation. It is a military command. It is the guard telling the traitor, your authority is not recognized here. It is an act of reaffirmation of the new law. Every time you do it, you not only protect the seed, but you weaken the power of the old regime. The third discipline, the purge of the court, the dominion of the environment. The royal guard knows that threats come not only from within, but also from without. A wise sovereign cannot protect his heir if the castle is full of spies and assassins. The third discipline is the purge of the court. You must become a ruthless guardian of your vibrational environment. The purge of conversation. You must with absolute discipline stop participating in conversations that reinforce the old reality. You cannot spend your nightly ritual decreeing, I am health, and then spend the day complaining about your ailments with your friends. That is treason. It is the sovereign complaining in the tavern with the peasants. When the subject comes up, the guard intervenes. You either change the subject elegantly, or you declare your new truth. I am in a healing process, and I feel stronger every day. You refuse to give your royal words power to the disease, the purge of information, the mental diet. You stop consuming the poison that feeds your fear counselors. If you have decreed abundance, you stop watching financial news that shouts crisis. If you have decreed peace, you stop consuming the dramas and conflicts of social media. You are not an ostrich, you are a sovereign. You do not deny that the external world exists, but you refuse to allow its chaos to become the atmosphere of your court. You are the gatekeeper, and you do not allow any poisoned food to enter the castle. A gardener plants a precious and unique seed in a field. He knows the seed is powerful, but also delicate in its beginning. His first act, the fast of reality, is to stop looking at the earth every hour and trust the law of germination. His second act, the counter-decree, is to firmly pull out any weed, doubt that tries to sprout next to his seed. And his third act, the purge of the court, is to build a fence around the seed, to protect it from the rabbits, the negativity of others, and the deer, the contradictory evidence of the world that could trample the sprout before it had the strength to grow. The mental diet is the fence you build around your new creation. It is the sacred discipline of the God, the act of sustained faith that guarantees that the seed you planted in the darkness has the silence and security necessary to in the perfect time triumphantly emerge toward the light. Chapter 10. Living from the Throne, the embodiment of power. Now we arrive at the final act, the act that unites the invisible world of cause with the visible world of effect, the act that closes the circle and seals your power. The untrained mind that of the subject lives in a prison of linear cause and effect. Its logic is when I see the money, then I will feel abundant. When the partner appears, then I will feel loved. When the doctor discharges me, then I will feel healthy. It is waiting for the mirror to smile first. It is demanding that the effect precede the cause, and that is why it waits forever. The waking sovereign understands the forbidden law. He is the cause. The mirror can only reflect the face he presents to it. Therefore the sovereign inverts the subject's logic. He does not wait to see in order to be. He chooses to be in order to see. This is the supreme practice, the living in the end. It is the art of embodying the identity of your wish fulfilled before the physical evidence has manifested. It is not pretending. Pretending is an act of the ego trying to deceive others while feeling like a fraud inside. Embodiment is an act of faith that demonstrates the truth to your own subconscious. The bridge between worlds. Why embodiment is the final seal? Why is embodiment so powerful? Why is acting as if the final command that seals the creation? Because it is the act that finally closes the gap between your conscious 5% and your subconscious 95%. It is the moment when the king and the builder at last work in perfect harmony. 1. It is the demonstration of faith to the giant in the ritual of imprinting Shat. You planted the seed with the mental dietine, you protected it, but the sleeping giant, the builder, is still watching you during the day. It asks you in silence, "My sovereign, did you truly believe the order you gave me last night in the darkness of the workshop?" If you spend the day acting, speaking, and feeling like the old person, scared, lacking, sick, your actions are shouting, "It was a lie, cancel the order. I'm still the beggar." But if despite the evidence of your senses, despite the echo of the past in the mirror, you begin to walk like the prosperous person, to speak like the healthy person, to make decisions like the loved person, you are doing something miraculous. You are giving the giant the physical evidence that your new identity is real. Your actions become the irrefutable proof, the new premise. The giant, seeing that the sovereign acts in congruence with the new blueprint, dissolves all resistance and mobilizes all its cosmic power to complete the construction. Embodiment is the amen your body says to your soul's prayer. 2. It is the permanent vibrational tuning. You cannot feel rich for 10 minutes in your nightly ritual and poor for 16 hours a day and expect the universe to respond to the 10 minutes. The universe responds to your dominant vibration. The act of living from the throne is the art of making your new vibration the dominant one. It is the art of taking the feeling you cultivated in the workshop of silence and extending it throughout your day. Every time you choose an action based on abundance instead of fear, you are emitting the note of abundance. Every time you choose a word of gratitude instead of a complaint, you are emitting the note of gratitude. You are practicing being the tuned instrument, not only in the silence of the workshop, but in the midst of the world's chaos. You are making your new frequency your home. 3. It is real-time neural rewriting. As we learned, your brain is plastic. Every action you perform forges a neural pathway. When you act, despite fear,
The universe
you
does
are
not
rewiring
hurry,
your brain.
yet
You are
everything is
demonstrating to
accomplished.
it with facts that
We
the
are
old
merely
law of fear
stardust.
is no longer in command. You are building in real time the neural highways of your new self. Living from the throne is not only a metaphysical act, It is a neurological training. You are literally sculpting the brain that corresponds to your new reality. Imagine again the heir to the throne. He has received the news of his lineage. Chapter 3. He has learned to feel like a king. Chapter 7. He has visualized his coronation. He has protected his mind from the doubts of others. Chapter 9. But now he must walk from his exile in the village to the throne room in the palace. And along the way, everyone continues to treat him like the beggar they have always known. His old friends mock him. Merchants deny him credit. Palace guards block his path. The external world, the echo of the past, is presenting him with a mirror test in its most aggressive form. The sleeping heir, seeing this resistance, would crumble. "They're right," he would say. "It was a dream. I'm still a beggar," and his reality would be sealed. But the waking heir, the sovereign, no longer seeks validation in the mirror. His identity is no longer negotiable. When his friends mock him, he smiles with the compassion of a king, not anger of a beggar. When the guard blocks his path, he does not beg. He does not argue. He looks at him with the serene authority of one who knows who he is and says, "Step aside." He is not pretending to be a king. He is embodying the truth of his being, even though the world has not yet recognized it. And it is this embodiment, this unshakable coherence between his inner being and his outer action, that makes the world inevitably bend. It is this certainty that makes the guard hesitate, look a second time, and finally kneeling open the door. The 3 practices, the royal daily discipline. The first practice, the art of sovereign decision. A sovereign's power is not exercised in meditation. It is exercised on the throne at the moment of decision. Your new identity is forged, not only in the workshop of silence, but at the crossroads of your daily life. Every day you face hundreds of small decisions, and each one is a referendum on your identity. The subject makes decisions based on fear and lack. The question is, what is safest? What can I afford? What will others think? The sovereign makes decisions based on identity and expansion. His question is, what would the person who I am now choose? The daily decision workshop. When dressing, the subject from his not enough code chooses clothes to not draw attention or to fit in. The sovereign, who has decreed, "I am the embodiment of dignity and power," chooses clothes that express that truth. It is not an act of vanity. It is an act of honoring temple. It is the first decree of the day. When buying, the subject looks at a price list, with his stomach clenched in fear from the consciousness of scarcity. The sovereign looks at the same list and asks, "Is this a wise investment for my kingdom? Does this honor my new consciousness of abundance?" He may choose to buy the same thing or not, but the energy behind the decision is radically different. He moves from the beggar's panic to the king's serene management. When choosing a task, subject governed by the fear of failure procrastinates. He chooses the easy, urgent task, the short-term relief from fear. The sovereign, who has decreed success, chooses the inspired action. He asks, "What is the action that if I take it now will most expand my kingdom?" And he executes it not because he has to, but because it is the natural expression of the successful person he has decided to be. Every small decision is a vote. It is an opportunity to vote for your old self or for your new I am. Sovereign ensures he wins the election in his own mind, decision by decision. The second practice, the embodied royal word, speaking from the throne. You have learned the power of the decree in the workshop of silence. Now you must bring that power into the light of day. Your conversations are a constant decree. The subconscious giant always listens to you. The waking sovereign understands that every word he utters is a law in his kingdom. Stop complaining. Complaint is the most powerful prayer for lack. Is the sovereign complaining about his own reflection in the mirror? It is an act of treason against your own decree. Speak of your desire, not for it. The subject speaks for his desire. I really hope I get that job. It is a plea. The sovereign speaks of his desire. I am in a wonderful expansion process in my career. It is a declaration of a fact that is unfolding. The embodied counter-decree. When the world, the echo of the past, presents you with a problem, the royal guard, your mental diet, blocks it. But it is the sovereign, your embodied self, who responds. Echo, the bill is huge. Subject's response, oh dear, I don't know how I'll pay this. Panic, command. Sovereign's response, internally interesting. An echo, I don't give it my power, externally with calm. All right, this will be managed. Everything is in order. The sovereign's response is not a lie. It is a declaration of a higher truth. It is the calm of the captain who sees a wave, but trusts his ship. The third practice, the sovereign's movement, acting from throne. Finally, your body must align itself. The sovereign not only makes decisions and speaks like a king, he moves like a king. The posture of power. Walk with your back straight. Lift your gaze. Stop moving through the world apologizing with your body language. Occupy your space. Your body is the sovereign's temple. Treat it as such. The action of fullness. Generosity. The most powerful action of embodiment is generosity. The subject from lack clings to the little he has. The sovereign from fullness circulates his wealth. Give that slightly more generous tip, not with fear but with the feeling of abundance. Give a sincere compliment. Share your time. Every act of generosity is a physical, irrefutable demonstration to your subconscious giant that we have more than enough. You are acting from the throne of abundance, and the giant must obey that evidence and bring more. A day arrives when these practices cease to be practices. The mental diet stops being a discipline because the thoughts of doubt no longer visit you. The scientific prayer stops being a ritual because your habitual state of being is a prayer of gratitude, and embodiment stops being an act of living as if and becomes simply living. You have stopped being the architect who designs the palace. You have stopped being the guard who protects it. You have become at last the sovereign who lives in it. Imagine a sovereign who inherits a garden that has been abandoned for decades. It is full of weeds, limiting beliefs, stones, traumas, and the earth is hard and dry, unproductive habits. At first, the work is arduous. The sovereign must be a gardener. He must use all his tools. He spends months, his practices, pulling out the weeds, breaking the hard ground, and planting new delicate seeds of his vision. During this time, he must be a vigilant guardian. He must water with feeling, protect with faith, and constantly pull up the weeds that try to return. It is a work of conscious effort, but a day arrives when the garden has matured. The seeds of his vision are now robust trees bearing fruit. They have taken deep roots and their canopies provide shade, preventing the old weeds from growing due to lack of light. The ecosystem has changed. The sovereign's work has changed. He is no longer the gardener who struggles with the earth. He is the sovereign who walks through his garden. His practice is no longer the struggle. It is enjoyment. His simple presence, his joy in walking the paths, his appreciation for the fragrance of the flowers is what now keeps the garden vibrant and healthy. You have reached that point. You have worked in your garden. You have used the tools and now you can release them. You can stop trying to make the garden grow and simply be the sovereign who enjoys the kingdom he has cultivated. Our journey began in the darkness of a cell in the amnesia of an enchained sovereign. We started as a king in exile, convinced of his own powerlessness, unaware that he himself held the key. You have completed the manual. You have finished the initiation. The sovereign has exited his cell. The amnesia is over, and the giant, the vast cosmic power of your subconscious, is no longer asleep. It has awakened. But the final revelation, the secret that is unveiled when the giant opens its eyes, is this. There are not two. There is no sovereign who commands and a giant who obeys. The giant is not your servant. You are the giant. You are the cosmic power, the sovereign consciousness that has awakened to itself. The distinction between the creator and the builder has dissolved. Your desire and the power to manifest it are one and the same. Your learning journey is over. Your reign begins now. You are no longer the architect who designs the blueprint. You are the palace itself, radiating your new reality. Your practice is no longer one of imprinting a desire, but of being the state. Your question every morning is no longer, "What must I do to get what I want?" but "What magnificent truth do I choose to embody today?" If this secret manual has awakened the giant within you and returned the scepter of your cosmic power, we invite you to continue this exploration. Subscribe to our channel, Path of Knowledge, for more wisdom that reminds you of your sovereignty. Like this video as a declaration that your giant has awakened. Share this knowledge with someone who has forgotten their own power. Thank you for your time, for your courage to reclaim your crown, and for the brave decision to govern your kingdom.